Concordance Academy strives to help incarcerated individuals transition back into the community. And joining us is Concordance Academy EVP and Head of Education and Employment, Dr. Roderick Nunn, and EVP and Head of Community Engagement and Policy, Dr. Jeff Smith. I guess because you're doctors, there's like so much involved in your names, right?
Something like that.
Something like that. No, but gentlemen, you know, what you're doing is some very serious work. Is there an issue with incarcerated people getting acclimated back into regular society once they've been freed?
Well, in this country, there's a huge issue, and that issue is not really any worse or better here in Missouri. Nationally, about 3 out of every 4 people who come out of prison end up going back into the system within 5 years. And a significant percentage of those who go back do it in the first year. That's why Concordance Academy focuses on the final year of incarceration and the first year when people come out, because those are critical times to really have an impact, to help people get the tools they need to get back on their feet, to get employed, because the majority of people who are unemployed a year after they come home are going to end up back in the system.
Wow. What's the reason for that?
So we know that, you know, those that are undereducated and uneducated will go back. We know those that are, as Jeff mentioned, that are unemployed go back 3 to 5 times higher than those who have a job. Some of that is simply because, you know, employment signals to everybody, hey, you know what, I have my life together, I'm organized, I'm a responsible citizen, I can go to work, I can show up on time. But there's as we know with this population, there's so many reasons why that's not the case. You know, we know that 80% of the population struggles with substance abuse. We know a good chunk of the population is uneducated. So there are a whole series of sort of factors, I think, that go into the whole employment equation and why folks typically go back in higher numbers when they don't have a job. And my grandmama used to say idle time is a devil's workshop, and I think there's some of that involved with it too.
Do you think that, speaking of idle time, one of the reasons they have such a difficult time is because there's so much idle time while they're incarcerated, and then they come out and the world is going a million miles a minute?
You know, we actually talk about that a lot at Concordance Academy. We teach courses on everything from time management to stress management to anger management, in addition to a lot of more concrete behavioral health seminars. But with respect to time, you really hit the nail on the head. When you're in prison, you want to expand everything you do to make it take longer, because you got nothing but time. Once you get out in the world, you've got, for instance, for our participants, you've got to come to the academy for 8 hours a day. You got to get your driver's license. You got to find an apartment. You got to reconnect with family members, some of whom you've probably been estranged from. You've got kids that want to see you. You've got all these demands on your time, and you're trying to fit everything into your day. In your typical day, you probably say, look, I wish I had more hours in the day. But when you're locked up, the last thing you want is more hours in the day. So to totally flip the mindset of the way you conceive of time is a pretty disorienting thing.
You know, that's got to be really emotionally difficult for people who've been incarcerated, because you just said flip the mindset when you came out, but you probably had to flip the mindset when you went in. So you're probably really jumbled when you've got to come back out and try to get back into society.
Yeah, one way I like to think about it, so if you flip the analogy and you say, okay, Raynah, in 6 to 9 months, I'm going to teach you how to be a criminal, how to cheat, how to swindle, how to gamble, and a little bit about how to survive in prison just in case you catch a case. And you go through that program 6 to 9 months later, and you would have a lot of fear because you live your whole life a certain way, and now you have a lot of new rules, cultural rules about how to live your life, how to socialize, how to be a productive citizen, and all those things. And so that's what we're doing in reverse. And so, yeah, it's a very, very difficult job we have of reintegrating them.
It's almost like you have to help them unlearn some of the things that they've learned and then teach them a whole nother set of coping tools to have success back out there in the world once they're let out. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we've got to talk about some of the really positive things that are happening as a result of your work, and then a really fascinating event that you've got coming up that people can do something to help what you're doing. Stay with us at STL Live. We'll learn more about Concordance Academy after this break.